YouTube, Facebook. There we go. We got YouTube. Hey, folks, it's another episode of Monday Caregiver Check-In. And hey, Rachel. Oh, sorry. And Jen's here. Yay, we got our cheer squad here. That's good. So this is another episode of Monday Caregiver Check-In. I'm Darren Fink.
I'm Margie Fink.
And Felicia just joined us. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. We are with Transfiguring Adoption. This is the lovely executive director of Transfiguring Adoption, and we are doing Monday Caregiver Check-In every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to give foster and adoptive folks a chance to have a place to connect, talk with one another, and to share advice and questions with one another. So the small print of us joining in here is that we are not medical advice or legal advice, and we are not asking you to go to do anything contradictory to what your agency or your caseworkers are doing. We're simply trying to give you encouragement and give you advice and give you something to go on, give you hope. Please don't sue us. All right.
Sounds good.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
So tell them what you've been doing this week. While we're waiting for people to get in, if everyone, just so everyone knows, people are still getting in here. I'll explain the ground rules a little bit later, but if everyone wouldn't mind sharing that you're watching so that more people will know that we're on, because they probably forgot because it's 8 o'clock, it's a new time than we normally do, and they're just not thinking, hey, it's time for the caregiver check-in, because I think we had like almost 20, 25 people last time, so I think sometimes people just forget that we're on. So go ahead, tell them what you were doing.
All right. So I was actually with Jen and Felicia in Virginia, and we were at Queen City Mischief and Magic. We had a booth there, and actually last Friday night I got the opportunity
with Jen and Felicia
to speak at Mary Baldwin University about using Harry Potter and other media to help kids overcome trauma. So it was a great time. And if I look a little tired, it's because I drove all night.
She did. Tired. She was a champ. She drove straight through. Hey, Logan, glad that you're here. Okay, is everyone else, is the sound okay on here? Like, the video looks kind of rough on our end. Does the video look okay to everyone? Video look good? Sound look good? It's not looking good over on our end at all. We look really fuzzy. So it's been a rough day, you guys. So today we kicked off our contest for foster and adoptive, or not foster, for adoptive families. So it is the Chris Rankin Award for the best adoptive parent. And that's not why it was a rough day. The reason it was a rough day is because we're not sure if it was because of the traffic. No one's really given us a straight answer yet. We're guessing that because of the traffic that all at once came to the website, it crashed it. And so our website is limping along, and it is slowly regaining and getting back to where it needs to be.
Sound is okay, but Jen says we are blurry.
We are blurry. Oh, no. I don't know how we can fix that, do you? Other than ending. I don't want to end. Maybe it'll fix itself after a while.
Video is rough, yes.
The video is rough. Oh, no. Sorry, you guys. I'm sorry the video is rough. I don't know why it's rough. Like, we're not doing anything that we normally don't do.
As long as if we are a little blurry, but the sound is not choppy, it's probably okay.
I hope so. Because I wonder, the only other thing we can do is we'd have to stop and actually start again, and I don't want to do that. So, yeah, my video is really, really rough. Wow. Sorry, you guys. Anyways.
It's just par for the course today.
It is par for the course today, but we're going to keep on going through and make it through this. So it might be poor signal, except we're right next to our router today. So that's really weird. So anyways, so our website's been limping along, and it's been rough today. We finally got the website back up, but they are still working to get it completely back up and going. And we're still having trouble people being able to get into the contest, but it's slowly getting better, and people are able to get nominations in. So I totally encourage you, if you have not nominated an adoptive parent that you think should win the best adoptive parent award, please go to our website at transfiguringadoption.com/Chris Rankin Award. And I totally encourage you to do that. So yeah, this week, I think, just so you know, again, everyone, if you can share that you're watching so that we get more conversation, more people watching, more people able to participate with our blurry selves. If you can go on there and do that right now. Today, I think we're going to talk about compassion fatigue.
Well, there was a list of things: compassion fatigue, secondary PTSD.
I know, but I was just going to start with that.
Okay.
So anyways, we're going to talk about compassion fatigue, but like our ground rules say, this is your time. So we're going to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So we're on YouTube and on Facebook. So if there's something you want to talk about, you need advice, you have a question, put it over in the comments section and we'll stop and we will talk about it as soon as we can get to it. Now, last week we did have so many comments go through that we are going to get to the point where people are going to be reading your comments and talking to you, but we're not, to get the flow of the conversation still to go, we might not hit your comment. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. So go ahead and share everything out, and let's talk about compassion fatigue. So compassion fatigue, Margie, how would everyone else describe compassion fatigue? Sorry, Wendy, we don't know what to do about that, other than we'd have to completely sign out and then sign back in.
You're going to have to do another
Okay.
talking.
So how would you guys describe compassion fatigue? Does anyone know? So compassion fatigue, I would describe as being, normally you would feel sorry for someone or have empathy for someone. Like usually the kids in your home, like someone, let me tell you, I notice compassion fatigue the most when I am in a store with our kids and strangers are like hear our kids' stories because our kids might even share their story with a complete stranger, and the stranger has more "aww" than I do. Like, is that fair enough? Like they're just like, does anyone else have that experience where a total stranger hears your child's story and it used to make you go "aww," and now
or tearing up,
or really, but now it's not so much. You're kind of like, yeah, but have you seen what they did today? Have you seen this? Have you had to go through this? And so I think it's a very normal thing for caregivers to go through this time where you are, yep, Felicia on Facebook said it right. It's feeling so much for others that you wear out. Yeah, so it's a very normal part, I think, of being a foster parent or an adoptive parent. We all got into these roles, this journey to be able to help families. And sometimes we go through different things. And whether it's we're neglecting ourselves or whatever we're neglecting, you just eventually wear out because you can only take so much. So yeah, so what does compassion fatigue look like for people and why is it a bad thing? Like, I'm curious to know, like, why, because it is talked about a lot. Like, a lot of people talk about, the phrase compassion fatigue is coined. Like, people talk, like, it's a thing people talk about. We're talking about it. Mm-hmm. Like, someone asked.
Well, and it's not just for the caregivers. I mean, people in the industry, as far as caseworkers and doctors and things like that, they also talk about having compassion fatigue.
Right. So if it's a thing that doctors would talk about, why is it a thing? Like, why do you guys think that it needs to be a thing?
Well, it doesn't need to be a thing.
Right.
It needs to be talked about so that we can make it less of a problem.
There you go. Let's talk about that. And it all went quiet.
Hopefully they can hear us. Because we really are blurry. That's why I was like, I'm not worried about putting my glasses back on so I can see, because the crazy reflections are blurry anyways.
No, but I think it's an important thing. Like, I think, so like I said, I noticed it, I think. Felicia says it's like on an airplane. If you don't put on your own mask first, then you can't help others put theirs on. And that's one thing as Transfiguring Adoption, a lot of people ask what we're doing or what we're trying to do and wanting to understand our organization and our nonprofit. And we use that whole thing a lot, where we tell people, like, you know, when you go on an airplane and they tell you to get your oxygen, like, you don't put the child's oxygen mask on first, you put your own on and make sure your needs are taken care of, and then you put the child's on. So yeah, I think it's an important thing. I think it's a great illustration, actually, because I mean, in an airplane, it really will screw everything up, and more people will die if you don't take care of yourself.
So Logan says, I think stories by nature emphasize the wonder and amazing quality of an experience, whereas the day in, day out reality is far different. Yeah, so I think, you know, when we're in the day in, day out reality, we sometimes forget our kids' stories. You know, you forget about that behavior is a message. So all behavior is telling us something that the child needs. And if we kind of lose sight of the story, we lose sight of that as well. Jen says, because people feel guilty for having it, so we need to talk about it so they realize it's not just them feeling it. Absolutely. And Janice says, I had never heard of it before last week. Yeah, it's one of those things that's not talked about a whole lot. It can, like a lot of mental health stuff, it starts to get stigmatized, or people don't understand it. And people do feel guilty, because you feel guilty when you start getting upset at something that the child can't necessarily control, because it's something that has been wired in their brain because of their trauma. But when you're day in, day out living with those consequences, it can be really easy to forget what's going, you know, why it's happening.
Yeah, and so, and that's one thing that I say on here all the time too. I think that, Janice, I'm glad you said that, because like I say, like, a lot of people are scared to comment or say something on when we do the caregiver check-in, because I think everyone knows it. And not everyone knows this stuff. Like, and I think there are quite a few of us that have heard of compassion fatigue.
Secondary PTSD. So that secondary PTSD and compassion fatigue were both mentioned last week, and those are two things that don't get talked about a lot, but need to.
Right. So yeah, like, I'm really glad that you brought that up. And Marcia's got to put a kiddo to bed. So it is something that's not talked about a lot. Or it is talked about a lot, but there aren't as many people in the world that maybe know about it. And it's something important that we do need to talk about, because it affects how well that we're able to connect with our kids and how well we're able to help them. And in the end, if we don't deal with compassion fatigue, we're like, you're not just like with the airplane. It's not just the child that's going to suffer, or not just the adult that's going to suffer. You both suffer and crash and burn. So it's something that we really have to deal with, and we have to figure out. So what do you do for compassion fatigue? What is it? What does it look like to stop that, to prevent it, or I want to hear more too. What do you guys think it looks like in your day-to-day life? Like, I forget who said it, but when you're up close to something and you're dealing with an issue up here, it's hard until you step back and really take a look at it. It's hard to tell what maybe is really going on, but you might be so close to an issue that you might not even see what's going on. So what would you guys say? Like, how do you prevent compassion fatigue, or what does it look like, so that maybe some of us that have never heard about it or dealt with it really know what that is and know what it looks like? Waiting for an answer, waiting for the lag to catch up, waiting for the lag. I can see me talking on the screen, and I'm like 4 seconds behind. Oh dear. Welcome back. Kids are in bed, huh? Whoa, I didn't even see all that. There's like all these like comments. Hey, Dusty's on here.
So Jen says it makes you feel like a bad parent, provider, etc. Felicia says, when asking for help and saying that you're struggling in these ways, you're made to feel inadequate. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know, I think that's a really hard part, is when, like, and I think that's one reason why we do stuff like this, and a lot of, like, our niche is to help caregivers, is because we've all been in situations, and we've all dealt with things. We've all been that parent before, where we think that maybe we're like not, like, we think we're the only ones that deal with stuff, right?
So Christina says, do we think that many of the caregivers go undiagnosed because we are spending so much time taking care of the kids? Do other caregivers have their own counselors? I've seen both, like, that happening, yeah, where like the caregivers are so busy taking care of the kids, they're not getting cared for themselves. I had a diagnosis come from my primary care doctor, but I've seen other people just in that, a lot of times the kids counselors are kind of dealing with the whole family, and so sometimes those diagnoses come from the kids counselors, but there's probably less diagnosed because, yeah, the parents aren't getting treatment. Dusty says, so I'm going to start going to trauma-informed yoga once a week starting next week.
Ooh,
this is a
fun.
local yoga class that is meditative for people who experience trauma or deal with trauma. I love that. That is awesome. And Dusty says she has a therapist once a week. We had a therapist in Tennessee that worked with our whole family, and so she would do a lot of alternating. Like some weeks she would just see us, some weeks she would see one of us, some weeks she would see a certain child. So that really helped a lot. Yeah, Wendy says, hello me, I am so busy with these babies, but I have my own. I was going to go back to something. Went to a mom's retreat, and they had a restorative yoga that was absolutely amazing. And it, for the caregivers, it was really, really relaxing and great.
Well, and I think it's, I just totally lost what I was going to say. Do I get points for that? Like, sure. Do I get any bonus points for that, for having something and totally forgetting? I think that's the nature of being a caregiver. I mean, I think not with everyone, but I think typically we are people that we go and go and go and go and go and go. And we don't I think if we think we have to say that we need help or there's something wrong that we need to talk to someone about, that we think there's something wrong with us. Because we shouldn't need help. Other people should, and we should be helping them, but we shouldn't need help.
Allison says she loves restorative yoga. Yes, it was at that mom's retreat that we were both at. That was so amazing. Dusty, I had to recognize that my past traumas are exemplified and magnified through watching my kids go through their healing, so a therapist was necessary. And I know Dr. Karen Purvis, author of The Connected Child, and who has done so much great work in this field. She talks about you can't bring a child to a level of healing that you yourself have not come to.
Ooh, that's powerful.
So if we can't get to a place of healing for ourselves, we can't lead our children that way. And it's true. A lot of times there are things from our past that we might not even realize are issues, but then they're triggered by the kids' trauma, and that brings that up. So it is very important for us to seek out care for ourselves. Dusty says meditation and even 15 minutes a day works. Try massage or chiropractic and a glass of wine.
Heavy on the wine.
Yes, and Tyler says, wow, very strong. Yeah, we had a chiropractor when we were in Tennessee, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was.
I'm like missing it intensely.
I do, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's important too, that we can only get our kids to places that we're only as good as our strength. And I think that's important too for why we need to be seeking out other people and accepting the fact that we need a village. And that includes therapists and chiropractors, and we need other people because not to put any of us down. I mean, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And if we want our kids to overcome our not get stopped by our weaknesses, we need other people to help.
Yeah, Dusty says the book, The Body Keeps the Score, was amazing, and so were the TED Talks by Brene Brown. Uh-oh.
No, cancel. What are you doing? Don't need to
it logged me out.
You're just going to cancel. You're still going on here. It looks like. Yeah, see, you're still going. Oh, now you're not. I think it wasn't really logging you out. I think it was just saying that.
It stopped. I told you it wasn't going.
No, but we were sitting there discussing it for a while. Sorry, guys, YouTube. Like we lost our Facebook friends. I don't know why. Just hold on 1 second, though. Trying to get them back quickly. So what would you do in this situation? Yeah, this kind of stinks. This is kind of fun with the Facebook Live because you can do different cool things, but then eventually if you have technical problems, that's not so much fun. So we're trying here.
All right, so hopefully everybody can jump into this new one here.
All right, we'll try that again.
Okay, so, did you get rid of all those last comments though?
No.
Okay.
I'll go back. All right, let me get people invited back though. Okay, we got one person back in here.
We got Felicia, we got Dusty, we got Jen.
Everyone's coming back. Sorry, you guys. The video looks better though.
Need Allison, how cool is that? Christina, Logan, Janice.
They're coming. Okay, so what were we saying now?
I don't know, go back to the comments that you had, because.
Go back to the comments. So Allison says Bruce Perry calls this village the therapeutic web. He says the web is for both kids and their caregivers. Yes, it is. And I think there's so much power in community because well, I mean, okay, let's even just take something simple like Allison's back. Yay. Let's take something simple. Like I am not a sports person. Like I am not, like people laughed at me one time when we were all together because they were all watching football and they all started cheering. And I said something, I'm like, oh, who got, and I knew enough how football's played, but it just slipped out. I said, oh, did someone get like I said, oh, who got a home run? And they all looked at me totally believing that I had no clue that in football you score touchdowns and not home runs. So, but that's how unathletic and every sports-ish I am. And I have kids that love sports. So I have to have like other like men in my life that like will take interest in that.
You might want to make sure that we're watching the YouTube hangout. Or you are. You got the comments up?
Oh, maybe not.
Sometimes we get comments there and then we miss it. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, that's it. Okay, so Dusty posted in Facebook a video that's a YouTube video that's all about compassion fatigue.
Cool, I like that. But yeah, like I totally have to have that in my kid's life because I don't have a clue about sports.
It's so funny because sometimes there's responses and because the timing, the lag and stuff.
You think one thing?
No, I'm not sure what Allison's laughing at. She could just be laughing at us.
No, I think she's like, I just assume that they're always laughing. I assume that everyone's perpetually laughing at us, like even when they're not. And I just figure it's a good jovial time. So like, I'm just like, whatever, everyone laugh. Yeah. So yeah, like I have to have that. So what do you guys have to have for your village? Like, what are things that you have to have? And we're talking about compassion fatigue too. And I think that if you're not doing everything on your own, I think that helps the compassion fatigue too, because the different traumas and behaviors that we're coming up against, that's spreading them out, right? So, hey, and if everyone could do me a huge favor too, if you could share, since we had to restart, if you could share that you're watching this one, that would be great. Because it's gonna send them to the other video where we're not now. So, yeah, so what do you guys do to avoid compassion fatigue? What do you do, like who's in your village? Like like if you were coming up to a new foster parent or a new adoptive parent, who would you tell them they need to have in their village? Who would you tell? A chocolatier?
Oh, she was laughing at home runs in football. I got it for a second, but I was like seriously racking. Okay, for those of you who weren't on here, I was with Felicia and Jen all weekend in Virginia, and I drove through the night last night. So if I'm like not with it, and I can't remember what was funny, it's because I have driving brain. I'm ready to go sleep for real. Wine. So Dusty says wine is her go-to answer this week. And Janice says, me too, Dusty. It's fall break here. Oh, sorry, fall break is hard. So we had fall break in Tennessee, and we don't have fall break now. But we have 2 random days off this month. Like there's a random Monday and a random Friday off.
Do you know, sometimes I think that they just do it on purpose because they know people like me need the kids to be at school for a little bit so I can get stuff done. And I feel like they're just like, well, let's see how he does if we give him this day off from school. And then I feel like I'm on the Truman Show, and like there are cameras probably all around my house, and they just watch me all day long. Does that sound paranoid? That might sound a little paranoid.
Maybe.
Okay. And weird.
So Dusty says, I tend to just ask how I can help and network from there. Wendy says, a counselor that has dealt with adopted or foster kids, their trauma is different than a typical child. Absolutely. Yeah, I've heard of so much more damage being done by having a therapist who doesn't get it and doesn't understand.
I think with the therapist too, I think when you look for a therapist, I think you have to find the clickability, the compatibility. Like you have to be compatible with your therapist. Like if you don't gel with your therapist, it's just not gonna, like I remember we had one kid and we just didn't gel with the therapist. And that therapist didn't last very long because we were taking our child in for what? Like what were they supposed to be doing? Was it anxiety?
No, it was EMDR. She was doing EMDR.
But we didn't feel like
it wasn't working. And she talked more to us about her garden than about, it was not effective.
Yeah, we felt like, yeah.
Okay, so Dusty says she's off all week with the kids trying to juggle final VIA, which VIA is coming up here close to Louisville, Kentucky. This is a big event that Dusty's agency is putting on that's going to be amazing, and I'm going to be there, and I can't wait. So she's juggling that and kid stuff and house stuff, and wine is needed. And truth be told, I always refer them to these Monday night check-ins.
That's awesome. Good. Thanks. Yeah, we really appreciate it. That's why I keep telling people to share this as much as possible, because I feel like the more people, like even last week, we were able to, like someone had, I forget who it was, but someone had an issue, or not an issue, they just had a question, and we were able to connect people in Michigan together. And the more people that we have on
and now
here
we've got a couple Kentucky folks, and more we're getting people connected in areas, both physically too, so.
I just feel like it helps you guys more. The more people that we can get on here and get connected on.
Yeah, especially because there's so many differences state to state where, you might have an answer that works in your state, but if we went to a caseworker in our state and said the same thing, written messages.
Sorry, you don't see. It's fun. It's fun because on YouTube, when we do a vlog or we do this thing, this isn't so much like we can't, like we just had, like on YouTube, they didn't get kicked off. So at YouTube, they're watching us go, huh? To Facebook and go, what is it? And we're both like, kind of like batting at each other like, no, it's not that. Yeah, it is. No, it isn't. You guys missed all that because you weren't on YouTube and you got kicked off. So it's funny because our daughter just came in and was like, held up a sign asking if she could do the dishes tomorrow morning or tonight at 9 when we're done. So and now she's laughing at us from up on the second floor balcony because she's now a part of this discussion and she didn't necessarily want to be. Do you want to come join us?
No, not really.
I got a no, not really. Couldn't hear. So anyways, sorry, we digressed, you guys. So Dusty says just being able to speak to adults about adult stuff is absolutely necessary. It absolutely really is. Sometimes you just need that time. Like, what do you guys think? I mean, sometimes it's fun to pretend. I love pretending and having fun, like kid fun as much as anyone else, but sometimes you just got to talk to adults about adult stuff. You need to be able to talk to someone about like the difficulty of paying bills, the difficulty of having to get the mortgage in, how to stretch a dollar. Yeah.
Okay, so Allison says, our village includes clinicians, therapists, and doctors, but also mentors for my teens, massage therapists for the whole family. Some of the kids go to private school, and the staff there is a huge part of their circle. Yeah, and at different times, our kids have been, there was one period of time where our kids were in a private school, and I've had several families that have had to go with private school and just figure out how to financially make it work because there were private schools that were more willing to work through the kids' difficulties. At one point, when one of our kids was in the private school, we were told by several therapists that had the child not been in a private school, they would have likely been sent to a behavior disorder school and probably gotten worse rather than better. So the private school is kind of a lifeline there. Christine says, I wish there was a list somewhere that we could find those on here who might be in our area. We are near Nashville, but also close to the Kentucky line. It's good to network. Absolutely. And that's something that we can work on too, is like thinking through some of that. And we have, when we know where people are from, we try and point them to each other. So I haven't seen anybody on here. I think we have subscribers from Nashville, but I haven't seen actually anybody speak up and say they're in Nashville on the check-in. So I know we've got followers, but I don't know that they're active in here.
Allison says that she has her own therapist and tries to get to yoga twice a week. Yeah, and I totally, I think the physical activity component along with, like, I think that's one thing. I think I've talked to a lot of people, like even in this kind of setting where we're talking to people and we're like, I think you need to see a therapist. And I think people take offense at that and think that it's a big thing. Like, you've got issues, you need to go see the therapist. Like, but it's, you just need another third party, like disconnected adult that can just hear what you're saying and just be able to make sense of it with you.
That's how, you know, it's, if someone had, I'm trying to think of like a medical thing, but you know, there tends to be such a stigma, and the reality is it's, if you can relate it to medical, like it's silly to not get care. It's silly to let bad things, you know, bad things happen if we don't take care of ourselves. I'm not saying that we're silly for not taking care of ourselves, because we tend to do that. It's,
we totally do. We're there, like, we're probably the worst ones at it. We're sitting here advocating for it because we know we need to, but we're the worst ones at it. We keep going and going. Case in point, we're doing a caregiver check-in after you drove how long? But we love you guys.
I'm very tired.
She actually was excited about it, weren't you though? Like, yes. you were like, I need to get back for check. Like, in an excited way, you wanted to get back for check-in to see everyone.
That's part of the reason why I drove.
She wanted to see everyone.
I wanted to be here today.
Because it's therapy for you in a way.
Yes. So Janice says, Christina, we spend a lot of time in Southern Kentucky, a few miles from the line. Allison says, I know several folks in the Nashville area that are trauma-informed also can access ASAP services.
ASAP
and Christina says we have
great.
ASAP services that are great. Yeah. So that's for those of you who aren't in Tennessee or around, the adoption support and preservation. Some states have the similar things, but they're not always called the same. But ASAP in Tennessee does a lot of, they do in-home therapy. We've used that. We've used in-home therapy. We've used equine therapy through ASAP. We've used the family camp for adoptive families. That was absolutely amazing. Janice says, that is so true. My brother has paranoid schizophrenia, and we tell him every day it is like having cancer or diabetes. Yeah, so it's, I mean, and there is a lot of physical connection. The more we learn about even trauma and how it impacts the brain and neuroscience and the neurochemicals and all of that, it really does become, a lot of it is physical. And so it has to be treated.
Oh, you know
so
what?
Wendy says IEP is a lifesaver, but not when we have a new guidance counselor who does a class schedule for a regular child. Yeah, so navigating school is so hard. You know, I think in general, like I have a blog partially written. I have about 20 of them partially written because life, running a nonprofit, and you got it. But there's so much, I feel like, that in general, like everything is a struggle. It gets to a point where everything is a struggle because it's like the typical parenting stuff, which can be a struggle. And there's things that every parent's dealing with battles with their kids where they're trying to train them in certain ways. But then you add on, like, you're fighting to get services, you know, and it's kind of the squeaky wheel, and you know, just having to go on and on and on through all that.
So we have Bowling Green. I saw Allison said that she knows people near Nashville. I think it would be neat sometime to do, like, I don't know how we'd even do it because it's all over the nation right now, but I think it would be funny to do, or funny, I think it'd be fun to do like a meetup, Monday caregiver check-in meetup somewhere. Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
So Desi says, I'm like a pit bull when it comes to meeting the needs of my kid in schools. I will call a lawyer and walk in with him to the meeting. Yep. I think one thing we've discovered, there was a point in time when we had 3 other kids that were with us a lot that were going to potentially be available for adoption. And, you know, it was the day-to-day life with them in our home. The 7 kids, they were buddies, and it was great. But we got to a point where we realized, you know, we can only do so much fight, because we have a hard time, because with 4 of them, there always seems to be some kind of battle going on as far as services or something like that. And you can only fight so many battles at a time. So one child's battle might get kind of left behind for a while because one other child's battle is so much more important. You know, like we spent a lot of this summer fighting for voc rehab for our guy that just graduated from high school. So we spent so many countless hours on the phone and driving him across the city and like just different stuff. And, you know, then the other kids get put kind of on the back burner in some respects as far as some of the battles that we need to be fighting for them. And that was one of the things when we had to make that decision of these other 3 that were they weren't in our home, but we had them regularly for respite and such. You know, we had to say, we can't do 3 more sets of IEPs, 3 more sets of therapists, 3 more sets of specialists. There's only so much time, only so many battles we can fight. So Janice goes to Albany, which is like 45 minutes from there, she thinks. So you guys are like relatively around. I would love to meet as many of you face-to-face at VIA later this month.
How do they get to VIA?
Dusty, I don't know how they get to VIA.
How do they get to VIA? I'm trying to find that. Hold on.
Yeah, you can put a link in there.
That's what I was trying to do. Jenny Hammond's on
October. Hi, Jenny. October 20th and 21st in Louisville.
Website is coming. Hold on a second.
VIA.
No, I just lost where everyone's at. The chat's at. There we go. Oh, it's coming.
Yeah, Allison says some school systems are so bad with creating IEPs that are trauma sensitive. It can be such a challenge. Yes. I mention it all the time that there was a school psychologist that while we were fighting for an IEP, for one child, the school psychologist looked and said, yeah, but how does PTSD affect him at school? And I jaw dropped.
Yeah, that one was kind of bad. It was kind of bad. You know, someone had mentioned on there having multiple babysitters that are trauma-informed. So that brings up another thing that someone told us to talk about with what activities do you have for sitters? Like when someone is going to sit for you, do you have activities for them? What information do you give them? What do you tell them to do with the kids, not do with the kids? Like what are kind of best practices for having sitters? Hey, Betty's on.
Betty?
Come on in and pull up a chair.
So Dusty's talking about VIA Glory next month in Louisville, or this month in Louisville. It is October, folks. So they have street painting, live action, Mario Kart, lots of free kids stuff, music, and a free concert by Lincoln Bridge. So totally cool festival. And Twinsburg Caring Adoption is going to be there, so it's going to be fun. Food, wine, and vodka. Felicia says bedtime.
Bedtime. Oh, for the sitter. Like yeah. I'm thinking event. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we said, like, last week when we were talking about sitters, like the judge for a good sitter for us was whether we came home and they were actually in bed and not like hadn't manipulated their ways.
Yeah,
18 days. Yes, 18 days.
18 days. I think that always put a cramp on like the babysitter part, because like when you came home and you had to, I think it was because you finally got away, you finally got some time together, you finally had some good quality time, and then when you got home, it was like, bam!
Or
reality.
You spent 3 hours talking about them because you were actually alone to be able to talk about them.
And then reality smacked you in the face when you came home, and they're jumping around, and the sitter's like, "Oh, but they said they needed me," and you're like, "Yep, they needed you. They needed you to let them stay awake, is what they needed." So. Yeah, definitely bedtime. I would tell any babysitter they get to bed. Are there any other activities?
Jenny says, "Don't give the 4-year-old sugar."
Don't give the 4-year-old sugar. Yeah. Can you? I think sometimes as a sitter, I would do that on purpose. Like, well, eventually they're going to come home and they have to deal with them. No, I was a good sitter. I always got the kids to bed, actually.
Okay, so Dusty's taking us back because we really didn't. We talked about compassion fatigue, but her question is: anyone have suggestions on how to handle compassion fatigue with the whole system? Yes, I like that. Yeah. I know one thing that for me personally is that I do better with compassion fatigue when I am reminded about the sources of the behaviors and some of the neuroscience and the reasons behind what's going on. So if I can take a step back and kind of be reminded, and a lot of times the training for that stuff is coming from elsewhere. It's a lot of like self-training and not. Dusty says, like, her heart hurts for the workers, the other kids, and everything. Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand that.
So compassion fatigue, like, so it's like you have compassion not just for the kids, but also like the workers are having compassion for the kids, and they're getting compassion fatigue. Everybody's hurting, and kind of it's all playing in together.
Okay, so can we, I know it's off topic and some rabbit trail now, but come on. Allison said that one night the kids hammered nails into the hardwood floor.
When they had a sitter.
When they had a sitter.
We didn't call her again.
You think? Wonder why.
Okay, so Dusty, that's an awesome question, because I've talked with lots and lots of foster and adoptive parents that say that too. And I want to take them all in. So I guess, how do you handle the need to continually say yes? Christina says training is a good reminder, even though sometimes I get tired of trainings. Yeah. I think sometimes we learn more from each other in terms of some of that too, like reminding each other. Allison says like Calvin and Hobbes, or Dusty says to Allison, that's like Calvin and Hobbes. But back to the, like, this continual need, like I had my heartstrings pulled the other day with a story about a little girl who we have a couple friends who are just in the process just bringing kids home from China, and they posted about a little girl who is in dire need of a family. She has some complex medical because she has heart defects, and the heart defects she has are the same ones that my father passed away from when he was very young. And he wasn't supposed to live to be 6 years old. And so I'm looking at this 3-year-old in China with the same heart defects, bawling my eyes out because I just want to be able to say yes, but know that I can't. And I think what I'm seeing a lot of caregivers do, and this is, I mean, that part of our passion too, is, you know, we have to know where our stopping point is. And when we can't do anymore, but if we can do things like this where we're supporting others, I think that's where that kind of, where we can feel some of that need, where we constantly want to say yes, because we know that there is a need. But if we're helping others to say yes, then that's helping with that.
It goes back to the whole oxygen mask scenario, really.
Mm-hmm.
If
Janice says she sometimes sees it in her worker and she tries to do something special for her or take time to send a thank you or a happy email. That's awesome.
So like with the oxygen mask thing though, like if you don't, like there are only so many, you only have so many oxygen masks. You can't go through the whole plane and get oxygen masks on everyone. You're like, for many reasons the scenario works. But so I think eventually you have to say no because you're responsible for your oxygen mask, and you're responsible
and Logan is saying, I think it's important to realize your own limitations. Overextending ourselves is not in the best interest of the kids. We had a sibling group we had to separate because of the violent behavior of one. Yeah, I got it, Logan. Sibling, not citing. So that's one of the things, you know, when I was doing licensing work for a while, where I was writing the homes. I wasn't doing licensing. I was doing the writing the home studies. But I would tell people, like, we really need to, on paper beforehand, like, and together, if we have a significant other, discuss what our limitations are so that we don't, in the moment when our heartstrings are pulled, say yes, because then we end up hurting ourselves and, more importantly, hurting the child by saying yes when it's when we're past our limit. And
I think like, none of this, you know, we have, every time that it seems like Transfiguring Adoption, we try to do a project or we try to do something. I think so many times people believe that we're glorifying adoption and we're making the caregivers into.
Well, it was commented today.
It was commented today, but we get that a lot. That we're
savior, that
we're saviors, or we're celebrating that these kids are getting to go to an adoptive parent or a foster parent's home, as though the foster adoptive parents were saviors. And look, I think it's important for all of us to realize that we're not like that. We're trying to be therapeutic and trying to help a family, and hopefully try to keep a family stay together. If not, like, this is going to be it's such a hard journey because there's so much horrible and delicate and trauma. There's so much that's going into it. It's a mess. Well, it's life. It's messy, right? Life is messy. So, I mean, but overextending ourselves, there's no way that we're going to be able to deal with all that.
Yeah. Like Allison says, it's really important to learn to say no. While love is infinite, energy is not. It's actually harmful to take on more than we have in reserve. Dusty.
Well, I think I think the problem is I think they interjected their own thoughts into there and didn't really look at our resources. But
yes, it was because, you know. So today nominations were open for.
That's actually a good segue for that.
Yeah. Because we do need to wrap up here pretty soon. And we talked about when we first logged in, but we've kind of had craziness happen. So, and new videos. But our Chris Rankin Best Adoptive Parent Award nominations opened up today. And that was where those comments were being made, that because we were celebrating an adoptive parent, that meant we were celebrating kids being ripped away from their parents. Was how it was worded, and that's not what we're about.
Yeah, so tell them a little bit about that, though. Like, well, hold on, I'm trying to get this in here.
But,
I'm trying to get the website. So
only like 20 minutes here and there of sleep thing is getting.
So today we started our Chris Rankin Award for Best Adoptive Parent Award, and so you guys should totally go check it out. We're not quite sure, but we can only guess that there are so many people at one time going to our site to go check it out that it actually crashed the site. And so we think GoDaddy has been helping us slowly get our website back up. But definitely, I would actually appreciate if some of you, I just put the link on there, if you wouldn't mind go visiting the link while you're still chatting toward the end here with us. See if there's a form that you fill out on there. See if it shows up for you. We have some people that are trying to nominate adoptive parents that are talking to me even during this, and they're saying the form's not showing up, and it's showing up for me, and it's showing up on my phone. So I'm trying to troubleshoot, and I can't figure it out. But let me know. But please spread the word for us. Chris Rankin plays Percy Weasley in the Harry Potter films. We met him at a convention. He is an adult adoptee. He very much wants to help adoptive children and parents to have a better journey and make sure that they get resources and things that they need, because he came from that reality, and he wants to help the children that are on that journey too. So we have this contest together from now until October 18th. You and the public whoever can nominate someone to be the best adoptive parent. They get a really cool plaque, and yeah.
Dusty says it's not working on mobile.
It's not working on mobile. Okay. They did say it's working on mine, but they said it might be 4 to 5 hours before it repopulates. So I'm glad it's working on the desktop though. But go ahead and share that. Get some people to nominate. Chris is going to be at the beginning of November. We have Chris and we have one other celebrity, hopefully 2 celebrities with Chris that are going to be pairing up finalists. So whoever the 3 finalists are for this contest are going to be paired up with a celebrity online. And that celebrity is going to be asking people to vote for them to be the best adoptive parent. I keep wanting to say in the US, but this is actually, we're opening it up. So we're targeting the US and the UK right now. So please help us get the word out on that, because we can't do this alone, you guys.
Oh, she says through this chat is where it's not linking through on mobile.
It might just be, I don't know. Hopefully it gets back up. It's been a rough day, you guys, because the whole website went down, like literally probably 30 minutes before we got on here with you guys. We finally got the website back up, looking the way it normally does. So it's been
still
harder.
Not,
it's still not there.
Plugins,
no, it's like
I'm not a tech person, so I don't even fully understand what all the plugins are. But not everything.
For
is like,
4 to 5 hours of craziness, right. You guys, like we still have to go. So we're gonna check it tomorrow. But please, yeah, just please help us get the word out on that. We're really hoping to make this a big thing. We are hoping that it'll be an encouragement for adoptive parents. We want to recognize, because like you guys.
And it'll kind of be wrapping up in November. And November is National Adoption Month. So we're trying to find more things to pair in there. If anybody wants to, we're kind of looking to do some blogs that focus in on adoption. And we don't want to focus in on like, it's all like, we are not rainbows or unicorns. Like, we're not these like mythical. Adoption is not mythical. So
we should make a T-shirt that says that adoption is not mythical. It's not so fluffy.
It's not fluffy. Okay, too much Minion stuff, Despicable Me stuff going through my head.
But definitely help us with that. Help us with that contest, you guys. We're really hoping to encourage. This is a fundraiser
about adoption.
Yeah, so. This is a fundraiser for Transfiguring Adoption. We do go down to the voting part. We will tell you up front that we are asking people to do at least a $1 donation for a vote, so that we can help keep things like even our website that just crashed today. We're spending $300 to have it protected against viruses and malware, so this doesn't happen again. So that $300 has to come from somewhere, right? So we could definitely use all the donations we can get. We actually are looking at getting, we have a therapeutic activity book that we want to get published, and it's going to be about $2,000 just to illustrate it. So
Dusty would wear the shirt.
I would totally make the shirt. I'm actually looking at doing Despicable Me themed stuff. Inspired, I guess is what they say. Inspired stuff. But yeah, like Margie's saying, we're also looking for blogs. If you want to write a blog, send a message over to info@transfiguringadoption.com. That's info@transfiguringadoption.com.
If you want to raise awareness about adoption and help people see a little bit more the reality of just kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
The process and stuff.
Very cool. So, yes, Jimmy says that they love that movie. You know, I'm getting more into it now because as we're going to Universal, they have a whole, if you watch our Instagram, Transfiguring Adoption Instagram, I'm constantly going to the parks and Instagramming their new line of Despicable Me stuff because it says Happily Blended Family on it. And it's just like this, I'm just so stoked that they have that stuff there about happily blended family, because it's a completely adopted family.
Unicorns be better than Despicable Me. But the unicorn is from Despicable. The unicorn in my head is coming from Despicable Me because it's so fluffy. So fluffy.
Being an adoptive parent is not mythical. It's not mythical. And that is our inside joke for today. Cool, you guys. Let us know if you guys have topics that you want us to talk about next week. We literally, like, we have a list of what you guys told us from last week, and that's what
we've somewhat hit on it.
Yeah, that's totally what we looked at that today and said, what can we talk about with those topics and what can we do? Let us know if there are things that you want to be seeing. We always want to keep improving this. And we want to get more people on here talking so that we have more ways for you guys to connect and talk with people in your area and just have different cool advice. So, it's so fluffy. The unicorn's so fluffy. They sell the unicorns at Universal, and I think we said, oh, you know what they have now too is, because it's Halloween right now, they have Bob the Minion. He's dressed up like Frankenstein, and they have his little bear Tim. He looks like a zombie. It was kind of cute. It was cute. So appreciate you guys. Please, again, I will pin that link to the top of this about the Chris Rankin Award for Best Adoptive Parent. Please let me know, because I feel like you guys are kind of like family for us. Please let me know if it's not working tomorrow. Don't give up on us. Help me to reassure people online that things work and that we're working hard at it, because I know sometimes with these contests, when something like this happens, people lose faith in the contest and they don't want to follow it anymore. Yeah.
And we were actually kind of scared that we lost, because there were already 4 nominations in before the website crashed. So we were scared that we lost it. And there was one that came from a birth mom nominating the adoptive parent of her child. I haven't read it, so I don't know if it's child or children or parents, but Darren said it was quite beautiful. So hopefully we don't lose any.
We won't. We have those.
Because, I mean, more.
We won't. GoDaddy is phenomenal. Let me put a plug in for GoDaddy. If you're going to do a website, they are phenomenal and they do great, and you guys should use them. Please join us again next week, you guys. You are all amazing. We rely on you guys to do life, just like I hope you're relying on us. Thank you for your comments and suggestions. You're doing more good than you possibly could know. I'm definitely telling you that from experience, that you are doing a phenomenal job because you woke up this morning and you are trying. So thank you so much. Hang in there. Keep going strong. I'm Darren Fink.
Margie Fink.
We hope we're helping you to nurture and or grow
your
foster or adoptive family. Thank you, Facebook. Hate to see you guys go, but good night. All right, YouTube. It's been great. We'll see you next week.